welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. Joined with Matt, who is feeling a little bit better, I think.
More or less. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get that all the way up to back to 100%. But yes, we have a funny topic, in my opinion, because it doesn't logically follow nor make sense in any shape or form. So if you guys are having problems understanding, I feel the same way. But yes, um, I don't know who's been paying attention as of late with the more, I don't know, anti terrible writing, anti terrible directing, anti, all those like the
Yeah.
groups that we are typically normal to, and just like, we hang out with the people, whether it be Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic, or
Yeah.
pick somebody. Um, where now the other side has been decided throwing the term Gooners out. Are you
Gooners.
familiar? Are you familiar with that term, Matt?
No, I've not heard the term Gooners except in relation to the movie Goonies.
No, a Gooner is similar to a Coomer, as far as I understand, because I'm apparently too old to understand it. So, a Gooner is somebody who wants everything to look like porn, I guess.
What?
Yeah, and apparently we're all Gooners because we like Stellar Blade, we like Near Automata, we like, Bayonetta, we like attractive women in general. So it's a bit of a weird thing because,
So we like everything to look like attractive women or men if you're a woman.
well, I mean, we like attractive men too. Like First
Yeah.
Descendant has attractive women and
No,
men.
no, no.
The men are
So, so,
muscular and the women
so
are
what they're
pretty.
doing, okay, it's very careful, okay? They're taking something that is normal, right? And they're trying to make it deviant.
Well, it's normal everywhere except in the West, because the West is full of fat people because of McDonald's.
No, even us fat people still like attractive people.
No, I'm saying like people, the ones like the women are taking offense to it probably the most. Although the Beta Knights have come forth and decided that they're gonna have to defend everything else because, like, you'll have something to
Yeah.
say about it because
No, but
you
this
just
is
want
a
everything because you're a
standard
porn addict or
This
something.
is
It's like
a standard propagandistic tactic employed by communists. They take something that is
to
normal
lie.
and try to make it into a deviancy and use it to create division between people so they can exploit it.
I just like what I remember Arch saying in Archcast one time. It's like the left lies, and he tried to get Dev to say it, and then now Dev's gone like south apparently on everything. So I don't know how that's still going, but I'm not trying to keep up with it because it's not my particular area of
And
caring about.
the
But
reason they're doing it, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but the top level of our sort of, I guess you would say, internet sphere, like we're bottom feeders basically. The next up from us would be like guys like Roman, who's a bigger channel, and up from him might be like Zach's, right? And then going up the chain, you get to like Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers and all them.
mm-hmm.
Smaller. Those top level guys are starting to appear on like
Piers
outside
Morgan
our
and
niche,
stuff.
on
Yeah.
like Piers Morgan, on other sort of media besides our tower structure. You know what I mean? So that means our information is spreading, and they have to counter that somehow. And I don't know if you heard Tim Pool talk about this, but um, he brought it up, and I've kind of lost some other stuff that it's just true, that they think they lost the election primarily because they didn't have their own people on the internet with like YouTube channels and whatever.
It's the standard concept that people, when they lose or don't do as well as they thought they were going
But
to
no,
do,
no,
whether it be in
listen, careful. So what Tim Pool predicted, and it's probably going to happen, is these mainstream media companies who are dying, who like when Tim Pool outperforms them by 10-1, right? They're now going to shift their money into YouTube and other content creators because they want to make money, right? They
well,
realize they were losing money
allegedly.
with the people they had, so now they're going to try to say, "Oh, well, these left wingers on, like what's that asshole's name, Destiny? Like Destiny gets more views than CNN. Let's put money to Destiny." And the reality is, they don't understand that the problem is that they're what the bubble? What's the phrase we use all the time?
Echo
They're
chamber.
they're in a closed environment.
Echo chamber.
Yeah, echo chamber. Yeah, you know.
I mean, people argue that we're in an echo chamber, but I think that's actually funny because you and I have disagreements on things
But
on
most of us,
regular.
like if you ask me what podcast do I listen to the most,
Joe Rogan.
Jimmy Dore.
I don't even know who that is.
He used to be on the Young Turks. He was one of the first. He was one of the early leftists who realized that they were all crazy over there. And
Oh, so kind of like what's that
not Dave
guy's
Rubin.
name?
Dave Rubin went all the way to the right. He went all the way over.
Well, no, I'm talking it's the one girl
Anna
that
Kasparian.
no. It was not from the Turks. She was a YouTuber that kind of like was hardcore left, and then
Oh,
she
Shoe on Head.
no, and it's another something Lacey Green, I think was what it
Lacey
is.
Green. I
Lacey
kind of know.
Green, she she started dating what's his name? Chris Ray Gun. And kind of like changed her tune and became basically a pariah in the left.
Well,
And
no. See, I'm not talking about someone who shifted all the way to the right. Okay.
no. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
she completely changed her viewpoint, and that was a problem. Not rather like I wonder why she changed it. Like, can she bring her viewpoint to the
Yeah.
front and whatever?
Like
But that's not what she did.
you know who Shoe on Head is?
Yes,
So
unfortunately.
she lost it and became ostracized from the left when she found out they were trying to put the term map into the LGBTQ. You know what map is?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a thing you nail on the wall as many
Yeah.
nails as possible.
Well, as long as obviously we say YouTube will like block the video or whatever, but so she was like she wanted to rant for like a year about how you're already pushing it with the T and these other letters, but you're going to destroy it. Now you're trying to, and then she investigated and
She's
found out that
she's ideologically left, except in a few areas, basically.
well, the left has been doing this thing of going further and further to the left, and it's not that the right has been growing by being more right. It's that like
The center is shifted because left is
yeah,
pushing it.
like MAGA is now composed of the right, the center, and some of the left.
Well, like if you were center left in the early 2000s, you're now like far right to the left.
Yeah. Well, Joe Rogan,
because
Tim Pool, and
yeah,
then
it's just like that doesn't make sense because half the stuff they don't. Where if I want to be a moderate and the moderate point shifts because of either the right or the left, I just shift with it because I'm staying in between both. But they're like, no, you're on this side or you're on this side. It's like I don't freaking care about where you're putting me. I care where I actually am.
yeah.
But no, and like in terms of like the way this is like if you're somebody who enjoys an attractive character or something, you are apparently by definition a gooner because somebody like you want them to be attractive, because if you're going to stare at something all day, you'd rather it look beautiful than hideous.
When people ask me why I play female characters in games, I often say I'm going to stare at someone's ass all day. It's not going to be a man.
Well, I mean, there's that, but I mean, if
Yeah.
you're playing Witcher 3, you're staring at Geralt's butt, but you're not staring at his butt. You're looking at your environment, just like you would with a female character.
Well, you don't have the option, though. I'm saying if you have the option in the game,
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends, because in some situations, like if the armor looks cooler, I'll just pick a dude because I want the armor to be cooler. But it all depends on the actual game itself. But I've noticed that when we're like, we're not saying don't have any ugly characters. We're saying when they're main characters, and in their story plot line does not imply that they're supposed to be hideous.
Psychology, though. See, these crazies think, for example, like I'm obviously an obese person, right? Let's say I was one of them. Their logic
one of them.
Yeah. Their logic is that someone who looks like me should be considered equally attractive to, say, I don't know, Johnny Depp. Like, and obviously, even I could say I'm a hideous, ugly, fat guy. And like they're trying to do to what the fuck? Oh, so and they did a plumbing repair in my apartment the other day, and not to go to the roof. I just turned and looked at, like, I glanced that way. When you're Italian, you talk with your hands in your face. That's the way they work. I happened to glance.
I talk like this all the time.
And on the molding at top of my bathroom doorway, I was like, "What is that?" And they left a screwdriver up there. And then they left, and then behind my door, I noticed that they left the level. But anyway, to make the point,
free tools.
They like, okay, this is a deep dive comment, but this is a show. This is a show for deep dives. Okay, to understand the left's mentality, right? There are certain books that we read who are not the left, and see them as warning signs, but they read those books and see them as instruction manuals. 1984, Brave New World, almost everything Anne Ryan wrote, Animal Farm, a couple other books, and like Brave New World. Uh, uh, for those who haven't read the book that's 100 years old now or 80 years old, um, they had for children uh, um, grooming classes, I guess you would say, right? To train them to be proper, And obviously, we're seeing that even now in real schools. But they want to train. They want to destroy the concept of biological drive to subserve it to their ideological drive, and they're not doing it because they think it works for you. This is very important to understand. Okay, so economic systems like socialism and communism don't work unless you have controlled, regulated peon populations, right? And so by fucking up your sex drive, pardon the expression, they want to control your reproduction. Okay, that's why they have push abortion. They don't push abortion for the right of the women to have abortion because they
Or the help.
95% of abortions are that's loud.
That is loud.
Yeah. So,
You're trying to get me copyright struck, aren't you?
yeah.
You scumbag.
95% of abortions have nothing to do with rape, incest, or life of the mother. Okay. The same thing that, or here's a statistic for you. If you're a Black American living in a Democrat-run city, you're more likely to live within 500 feet of an abortion clinic versus a library, a police station, a school, a hospital, a fire station, or a store, grocery store, right? So the left, the reason they're pushing this Goonerism on and all and fat acceptance and all, because they want to give you artificial.
Well, they're not pushing Goonerism. They're using it as a derogatory term of the gamers.
Well, no, they're making it derogatory.
Well, they made up a whole freaking word and made it derogatory.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I was like, "What's a Gooner?" And they're like, "It's because you're a porn addict. You just want to be able to see women doing sexual acts so you can get your janky wanky off." And you're like, "Or I just don't want to look at something ugly all day." Because if I wanted to do that, I just go outside.
For it, bro. I hope you want. I mean, I'm going to say this very politely and professionally. What the fuck? Oh, my brother. Okay. I got to order him food. I'm going to say this carefully. As a man who was mated to a female, I'm sure you want to see your female in a sexual situation, right? Is that polite?
As a man who's into what?
I'm saying it biologically, so I don't want to offend you. You know what I mean? Like
offend me?
As well, I don't want to offend you by saying it like crassly. So, as a man who has a mate, right?
Yes.
I'm sure that you want to see her in a sexual way, right?
Well, yeah, attractiveness, yes.
Yeah. So what they're saying is that's Goonerism, seeing women in a sexual way.
Well, the way I tried to explain it to my wife just this morning was if because there was a minor change. If you didn't see it, Naughty Dog's coming out with a new interstellar-ish type bounty hunter looking game, looks like, and they have this Asian chick. I'm assuming she's supposed to be Japanese, but she speaks normal English, and she like shaves her head, so she's got like this little short hair buzz cut thingy going on. And somebody put like long hair and lipstick and some makeup on her face, and like, oh look, there's a porn addict. It's like, but that's what women do every single day. Are they porn addicts because they want to look nice for somebody, or they're trying to draw attention or attractiveness? Like, like what?
Yeah.
Is everyone in the world like our entire like? Why are you not attacking makeup companies for making makeup so people can look what they consider better? And in some situations, I've seen some very hideous people that they put makeup on. It does make them look better, but I'm not particularly fond of makeup myself. I don't like when my wife wears it, so she doesn't really wear it. But in terms of like, it's supposed to make you look nice, but at the same time, it just kind of hides what you actually look like, and that's like somebody saying "I love you," but they're acting the entire time because they're in theater or something like that. Well, like it's false. It's stupid.
Complicated thing because there's cultural stuff like some cultures have heavily made up part of that as their culture, whereas others tend to be not.
Yeah, but it's the same women who go out and say, I want this guy to love me for who I am, but she wears 7 pounds of makeup on her face. It's like, then show him who you actually are. Don't wear the makeup.
Yeah, we're from a culture that doesn't see pounding, like putting the whole makeup structure on as an enhancement per se. Whereas, say Japan or India, or say there are parts of Europe where where the
Well,
makeup.
there might be an industry like in theater that you put makeup
No, I'm
on
not
to
saying
play
India. I'm
different
saying
parts of stuff. I mean,
think ethnicity.
no. I'm talking like there might be cultures because India is a different culture than what we have.
Yeah.
That they might be put on makeup for a particular role. Like back in the olden days, in theater, actors put on lots of makeup to shape their faces a bit more to the role. If they had to have a big nose and look funny looking, they had a big nose and they look
No,
funny looking.
what I'm saying is, in those other cultures, women wearing more makeup is considered more
More
attractive.
attractive.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying women who wear makeup, at least as long as it's done well, don't look
I agree with you.
attractive.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm not saying they
Women-
don't look attractive. I'm saying that the same people, at least in the West, that complain about like men won't love me as me because they want them to see them when they're like at their worst, when like they're just sipping coffee and baggy pants, baggy shirt, and their hair's all over the place and everything. The same people who want that look are the same people who are going dressing up in makeup, wearing their most attractive outfits, and they're trying to attract a mate, but they want to attract a mate that'll like them for who they are. And you're like, but you're talking out of both sides of your mouth because you can't be like, I want them to like me for me, but at the same time, I'm going to do my darndest to get everything I could possibly get put onto my face or make my outfit look sexy or whatever the case might be to attract their attention to begin with. But if their attraction is only based upon what your appearance is when you first present it to them, well, then it's odds are they're expecting that from you. And then when you take it off and you're not in that, you're showing them a totally different person, almost literally. And yes, when you get married, you see them in a different light. You're not going to, they don't need to wear makeup or something for you to love them and be attracted to them and whatnot. That's not the point. The point is that you're basically selling a lie. I'm selling this horse is really fast when all I'm doing is doing like a little CGI picture thing in the background that moves it, basically faking it. That's the whole point, is that they're doing it for selfish reasons because they want to be attractive, but also they want people to think that they're attractive without it. It's like, then just do it without it and you'd be done with it. But that's not even the main point. So the main point was things like when the Game Awards came out, they had this girl with a shaved head and she looks very unattractive for a lot of reasons. Personality would be my highest reason she looks unattractive. But also it's just, it looks like they had to uglify her. They couldn't make her just look like a normal, attractive Asian. They couldn't do that because like Asians inherently, without any actual makeup or anything, are not just unattractive. You're muted. You're still muted. You're still muted. I think your thing just kicked off on you again. There you go. I can hear you now.
Something weird's happening with Video Ninja.
Yep, I'm not surprised.
So anyway, the point is they're not uglifying her to them. They're saying that you should consider her equally attractive to the other ones.
Well, that's because they consider ugly to be beautiful, because their definition of beauty is a different level or standard. But even that, besides the point, like if you go out and you're like, hey, I've got this character, I want to put them in this situation, and I want people to like them. Well, you didn't make them particularly attractive. You gave them a rotten personality. They're not a nice person. They're just, what am I supposed to like about them? Even aside from physical attributes, what am I supposed to? Now, the funny thing is they gave her a waist, they gave her hips, they gave her a butt, but they gave her a face that looked like a donkey kicked it. I'm just like, well, why can't you just make it all make sense instead of only doing half of it? But even that side, again, attractiveness aside, the character is unlikable. And just that's just from the trailer. And you're like, okay, if this is what you're coming up with and people don't like it, it's not because they're Gooners. It's not because they need them to be in a porn simulation. It has nothing to do with any of that. All it has to be is literally, I just want a character that I don't want to vomit every time I look at. And I want a character that's likable, so I actually enjoy being around them, especially if I'm being this character. I'm going to be with that character the entire game. I don't want the character to be somebody who's obnoxious or somebody like there might be a story reason for it, but even then, if you're the player, you should be the one picking the attributes of what the attitude is like. You should
Yeah.
not be leaving it up to
Well,
the
I mean,
game to force you into it.
I don't want to get into the esoteric of the ideological. Like, I get your point. Like, to me, it's ideological what they're doing. I ever since
I'm sure they might even do it like not even actively trying to change it for ideology. It's just their bare minimum. Like they get so used to the concept where like it's mean or cruel to say someone's not as attractive as somebody else. And under that guise,
they're not saying it's mean or cruel because they think it's mean or cruel because they're evil. They're saying it's mean or cruel because they want to break your society, break.
what? No, because there's a lot of normies out there who aren't blatant Marxists. They just agree with
They've been
because
propagandized.
they yes, I agree they've been propagandized, but they don't hold necessarily to the Communist Manifesto as like their Bible. They just
They
say,
don't know.
well, it's not. Again, that's my point. They don't know. They're just normal people that have been, I guess, forcefully pushed into an area through peer pressure to say like, if you tell somebody that they're not as attractive as somebody else, you're being mean. It's not nice to be mean. You have to be nice. And thus, anytime something happens, they always side on that. That's why people like go into the whole trans women or women thing and all that jazz. It's because if you don't say that it's not nice and you're a mean, bad person, rather than being a scientific or biologically factual person, they don't care about that because that's all propaganda to them. But it's the same reason where if somebody attractive comes in, they'll shame the attractive person because their attractiveness is demeaning to other people. And they see this as normal people, not as just blatant active Marxist activists or anything.
Well, like I said, they've been propagandized.
Yeah. So that's the average person. Usually studios like Naughty Dog would be the ones that have activists in them that are actively trying to push this stuff. It's the same thing where you see like pretty girl goes to college, comes out as like a train wreck hit them. It's just like, well, yes, it's because they're being propagandized. They're being peer pressured. No one's figured out the method to avoid peer pressure. I mean, I kind of have. It's just I just don't give a crap. Like, I'm not gonna adjust because of other people. Not even people in my own circle. If they're like, oh no, you have to like this. Like my little immediate circle of friends where I live, I'm the only one who's like, yeah, War of the Realms trash. Yes, Rings of Power is trash. Yes, I don't like the new modern Star Wars. They could have done better. They didn't. And they're all like, but I like it because it's Star Wars and I like it and I thought it was great. I'm like, you can enjoy it. Doesn't mean it's a good film. But I'm the only person who does that.
Remember,
So I'm not
going
to
term for those people. They're okayists.
I wouldn't even call them okayists. It's just they're IPists. They care about the IP. They don't care about the quality.
I'm talking a different group of people. I'm talking a group of people who like they'll see Star Wars and say, oh, that movie was okay. I enjoyed it. I'm never going to watch it again. You know, like they don't.
Well, no, these guys
into the franchise or the storylines or anything.
These guys are hardcore Star Wars fans. They're hardcore Tolkien fans.
Yeah.
They're just we have different opinions, but I'm not letting them change my opinion because I actually can look and say, well, here's cinematography, here's actual writing, here's source material, yada yada. They're not as interested in that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some of that will change when they get the attacked of their favorite IP, and all of a sudden they don't like it.
That's how it always goes.
That's usually how it's usually what it takes to wake them up. Is like when Harry Potter's coming out, I'm going to see it change a bit.
That's when you either change or convert.
Yeah. And I've been told by several people I know that are like, well, don't let everything bother you. It'd be a very miserable existence. I'm like, it'd be more miserable existence if I didn't care about everything and everything changed, and then I had to care about everything after the fact, and it can't be changed back. So that's just me. But again, weaponized autism. Well, that's just my shit.
As Nietzsche put it, Friedrich Nietzsche, like over 100 years ago, an evil deed is like a boil. It's obvious. I'm paraphrasing. It's painful. It's there. You'll see it and feel it, right? But a bad thought is like a little fungi. If you don't pay attention, sooner or later you'll be covered entirely with fungi.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. But let's get to this quick little article bit. So the Facebook group page, whatever, the Witcher Hour said Witcher 4 Ciri kind of looks like Lagertha from the Vikings, which I personally find highly offensive because Lagertha is actually attractive. Ciri from Witcher 4 not really in terms of facial features. The rest of her seems to be pretty much the same, but they have a different face model. They have a different voice actress. I don't know why you changed these things because everyone loved Witcher 3 Ciri. The only thing I can think of is that you hit them with the ugly stick. Now, for those who don't know, CD Projekt Red has confirmed, which shows that the people who worked on Witcher 3 are no longer there, amongst other things that have proved it, that Ciri is now an actual official Witcher. Now, for those who don't know, lore-wise speaking, Triss pretty much yells at Geralt in the books because she's like, you better not have put her through any of these concoctions or anything, the trials of the grasses and everything. And he's like, no, I wouldn't do that. Why would I do that? And she's like, good. But first, Yennefer and Geralt would never do that because the survival rate of any Witcher or anybody who becomes a Witcher is astronomically low. Like, there's a reason there's only a few of them and there's not like a whole horde army of them or something. Otherwise, there'd be so many of them, they would obviously win everything. But the actual lore, the percentage of like boys that survive is like 96 or 97% fatality. Like, it's a very small percentage of already a very small group of people who go in there. And any that have attempted that were female, 0% success. It's not been done. It's very much similar to like Space Marines. Space Marines has a very low, it's probably bigger than Witchers, but they have a low success rate for even men, let alone, I can see you waving your hand, but your sound's off. But the Space Marines have a low success rate, but they don't have any women because it genetically does not work that way.
My back.
But yes, you're back. But it's just like this concept is like CD Projekt Red's breaking the lore to push whatever they want. Ciri doesn't need Witcher powers. She has her own powers.
Let's break this down. Okay. First things first. The author has said he's now writing. So the way it works is the Witcher novels take place way before the Witcher game. Okay.
Yes.
And in his head, he had finished the Witcher series with, spoilers, deaths. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Witcher game takes place when Geralt like recovers from death somehow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
well, there's a couple different things, but yeah.
I'm trying to keep it relatively spoiler free and not go crazy.
Well, the first two Witcher games were made before all the books were out, so they kind of just made them and they kind of went with it.
Lore-wise,
Witcher 3 was more or less
after the end of the novels. They had worked that out ahead of time.
Now, well, no, that's what I'm saying is there were only a certain amount of books out when they made the first two.
But when he
then they made more of them.
When he made the agreement, they knew where he was taking the characters, and so they set the Witcher games entirely after the end of his series. That being said, the author has said something about a year or so ago, or maybe 8 months ago. He has now plans to write more stuff in the Witcher universe.
But he has.
So the question now becomes: is he going to basically contradict the games? And
I don't care if he does.
Are the games a separate continuity, or is he going to take the story in the games and right after that? We have to find out.
I have the hot take that he's not that good of an author, and after the first two books, he kind of lost his touch.
I like the short stories. The first two
books. The first two books, the short stories are great.
Yeah.
After that, when Ciri enters the picture, it starts to crumble apart because it becomes the Ciri, not the Witcher.
Yeah, I lost interest when it went full-length novel.
That was the point. Is like everything with Geralt. It's like watching Supernatural. Supernatural was great when they had individual episodes of fighting monsters, things of legend or whatever. Yeah. That was fun. But then when they went to the whole demons god thing and they kind of just swerved off of the small stories, individual stories,
well,
that's where it kind of got sour.
That's a whole separate debate. It's a whole.
I know. I'm just saying it's the similar thing. It was like Geralt fighting monsters is what a Witcher is and what a Witcher story should be about. Him trying to protect a girl who can go through space and time is not exactly like that just becomes the Mandalorian, like I mentioned before the show.
My point I'm making though is if he's going to try to keep working with them and keep continuity, did he say, "Well, I'm going to write novels with Ciri as a Witcher or whatever"? I don't know. So,
Well, like I said, I don't even care what he writes because his books have gotten progressively worse.
well, we're trying not to. I'm trying not to share an opinion on the book. I'm talking about the IP. We're talking about the
Yeah.
property itself, right? Just objectively. And now that being said, if they want to do this in their game, more power. It's their property. I'm not gonna. But as we've learned the lesson, get woke, go broke. You know what I mean? So
Well, we already know that the team from CD Projekt Red that did Witcher 3 is no longer with CD Projekt Red. They went and moved on to other things.
well,
So
the
it's
game,
not like we're going to expect it.
the team who made the game is yes. The people
Yes.
who own CG Project Red, they've been woke for a long time.
Which is whatever, but like my point
Yeah.
is that people have this thing where like, oh, Obsidian's great. They made this game, they made that game. Is like Obsidian the company brand? Yes. Obsidian the current staff? No. They did not make the old games that you loved and cherished. There were entire different teams that had
Yeah.
entire different values. They were pro gamer, they're not anymore. That's just how it has been. But it gets worse over time because when the Game Awards came out, you probably haven't seen the Witcher 4 trailer, but if you want to go watch it, it's like a few minutes long. It's like, I don't know, 4
But I
minutes
wouldn't
long.
because I like the first Witcher game. I played the second one, but didn't like it because the controls for Witcher 1 were bad enough.
The
Once
controls
you
of Witcher
learn
1 and
them-
2 are atrocious, yes.
Yeah. But once you learn the controls of Witcher 1, they changed them in Witcher 2. And I'm like,
And
wow.
they changed them again in Witcher 3, but the Witcher 3 ones are much better. So Witcher 3 is definitely the best of the three because it's
I
open
messed
world,
around
it's
with it,
bigger.
but I lost interest enough with like I have arthritis in my hands and wrists. People don't know. And once I learn a control scheme, I don't want to learn a new one for the same fucking game.
Yeah, but if you don't play Witcher 1 or Witcher 2 for months on end, or probably even years, which I'm assuming you haven't played them in a hot minute, picking up Witcher 3 and learning it is it's not gonna feel that weird, honestly. But so with the trailer for Witcher 4 and having Ciri be a part of it and everything, there were a lot of weird issues with it. People weren't afraid of the Witcher that they saw because they didn't know it was Ciri as a female. They approached him and tried to grab him by the shoulder and turn him. I was like, okay, first off, everyone's terrified of them, and the ones who aren't usually end up dead because they get an ego, they attack the Witcher, and then they end up dead. That's just how it naturally goes. Even if Geralt's like, I'm not here to start anything, he's not going to let them just stab him and run off. Like, that's not going to be the work. But when they find out it's Ciri, they're like, oh my gosh, it's a woman. Oh, like they all freak out. Well, she shouldn't have cat eyes because she would be dead if she went through the trial of grasses because it's a 0% success rate for women. It's a very, very small percent success rate for boys.
Well, I think they're going to go with the idea that her powers make it easy.
Well, also, you would do the trial of grasses when you're a child, not when you're an adult, for one. But two, she doesn't need any powers that the Witcher can gain.
Correct.
But she's in the trailer. She's got the cat eyes. She's taken the potions that Witchers take and everything. Like, she's doing all this stuff that a Witcher does, but she doesn't need them. She already has the Elder Blood, so why would she need them? She doesn't need them. So they're saying that she has to be the same as a man in order to be good, which, ironically, I disagree with. She doesn't need that. She's already overpowered in that regard. But even when she's overpowered, before she could control her stuff, like in the books, she wasn't like the all-powerful Ciri. She still had problems. She still had faults. She still failed. But my issue with it, aside from the lore-breaking stuff, was her face. And her face is a totally different look. Now, if you haven't played Witcher 3, you wouldn't know what her face looks like, but I think I have one of these as her. Here we go. So this on the left is Witcher 3, and on the right is Witcher 4. They changed her jawline because they have a different actress. When you could have just kept the same actress, voice actor and motion cap, they changed it completely for some unknown reason. But I'd like to point out some things. They're like, oh, well, she was a young child. This is not a young child on the left.
Nope.
Not even close. She's like 21 in that image. But then you look at the scar on her face. It's not even in the same position. Because the jawline changed. But I'm sorry, your jawline does not have this crazy transformation just because you get a little bit older. So even if she's 10 years older or 15 years older, your jawline still would not have changed that much.
Well, our jaw looks more masculine. That's
Yes.
that's
Well,
what they're
because
doing.
Ciri is a feminine female and she has the soft features. Doesn't mean she's soft by her personality, doesn't mean she's soft when she fights. It just means that her skin is soft tone. Ciri in Witcher 4 is like a hardened, grizzled veteran of 50, 60 years. And it's just like, that's not the facial structure she already has established in the series made by the same company. Everyone loved Ciri from Witcher 3, despite her not being Triss or Yennefer level attractiveness. They still liked her because she's a fun, likable character. And I can't figure out why the one on the left makes you a porn addict, and the one on the right makes you normal. But that's not even how that works. But again, it looks like a totally different character to me.
The reason is because they're defining it that way.
Yes, well, everyone defines everything however they want to, and I hate that because that's not how words work. Definitions matter because words have definitions for a reason. But
we're talking about this concept of a Gooner or Goomer or whatever it is.
Gooner, Gooner.
Yeah. So they're defining the concept of a Gooner as the way we're talking about it. So they're trying to make something normal, which is thinking Ciri is young and pretty and attractive, and saying, okay, now you should equally think this Ciri is attractive, you know, she looks like a man, a trans man.
Well, it's funny because Gooner is like the chud thing, where it's like you're a chud instead of a chad. But I'm like, but nobody who says chud is taken seriously by anybody who doesn't agree with chud. Like, even the chuds, which they don't have to be chads per se, but even the chuds, the people called chuds, make fun of them for saying, yeah, us chuds are doing this, even though they don't actually accept the title. They're just saying, we're making fun of you because what you said was wrong, and it's been shown wrong over and over and over and over. But somehow the one on the left is not attractive, and the one on the right is attractive. Now, there is a graphical difference. Like, they increase the graphic quality a lot. But keep in mind, one of them is cinematic, one of them is an in-game engine. The in-game engine still looks good, regardless. The cinematic one is not what it's going to look like in the game. It's literally a trailer. They airbrushed it up to look the way they want it to look. Her nose structure looks like it's been broken or something. I don't know. It's a totally different nose structure. Her eyebrows entirely different. Her scar is entirely different. Her lip structure is entirely, like, it's literally an entirely different character just with the same hair and happens to wear eyeliner around her eyes like the original Ciri. That's literally the difference is that they're entirely different people. And they're just like, we're going to give you an entirely different person and then you have to accept them as Ciri. And I was like, but I don't have to accept them as Ciri. I'm not required. There is no law that commands that I have to accept somebody as somebody else.
No.
So this is ridiculous. But to get to these comments, because I was interested in these comments, where somebody's like, they're like, oh, looks like Lagertha from Vikings. Like, sure she does, chap. Sure she does. And this one person's like, I'm going to leave this group because of this discussion. I'm so over it. Geralt's appearance was never under this much scrutiny. It's like, no one ever went out there and tried to uglify Geralt. He's already, like, has a natural gruff ugliness to him. Like, no one's out there trying, like, no one out there goes and says, man, Geralt's a supermodel. Nobody says that. He's definitely got the ugly stick to some extent. And if you look at the actual description of the book, he's got a bit of an ugly look. But he's got other things that make him attractive to women, like his vitality and stamina. But they're also like, they never did Geralt this dirty changing his character so much. She has always been a feminine person, but now throwing all that away for whatever reason. She can be both a fighter and a feminine lady, doesn't have to turn into a man in demeanor, which I fully agree with. Because Geralt is a man, was never portrayed as feminine. So of course no one's going to have a problem with that. But there were some people who still had comments about it. But not like on this level. And like they gave him a beard, which I'm told Geralt of the books hated, which is true. Did he look good with the beard? Well, yes, beards typically make people look better, depending on the type of beard. But it's also much, much later, and if Yennefer ever told him she likes his beard, he might change it. Who knows? Because he's a Yennefer simp, and I don't like Yennefer. And other people like, I don't care. But Edward's like, yeah, people made a big deal about it and about Triss. Yeah, Triss has gotten a lot of stuff. I like her in The Witcher 3. Witcher 2 and Witcher 1 was a little bit wonky. The show was god awful. But what's the problem with...
Didn't they DEI her in the show?
Yes. So what's the problem with discussing a fictional character's appearance? Does it affect him or what? Like, is Ciri in Witcher 4 going to be like going up to NPCs and like, wow, she's hideous? Be like, what, you got a problem with my face? Like, what are they going to do? Like, make it an impersonal in-world thing? Because that would be stupid. And they're like, he was handsome in Witcher 3. He was ugly in 1. I don't think he was ugly in 1, like, super crazy. Like, the only difference really was the beard. It's just, in the books, he was not made as a supermodel. He was less than average in appearance. But there's a whole bunch of stuff where they're like, Geralt at least has stayed consistent in Witcher 1, 2, and 3. He's pretty lean. He's not the most attractive fellow. And he does what he does all the time. His personality hasn't changed much. If anything, Witcher 3 is a little bit softer, and that's only in certain aspects. It's not in the whole entirety of the character.
We're deep diving in the wrong way here. Like, so on these comments and stuff, I mean, does Facebook even show the ones where people who really go off on it or whatever?
It shows everything.
Well, Facebook behind the scene filter stuff, you know.
Well, somebody's like, Ciri looks perfect for the role. The character design is perfect. Y'all are going too far. And it's like, all these dudes nowadays be looking for the wrong stuff. Wanting a 13-year-old Ellie to be cute was what I read on Instagram once. And it's like, I don't know who said that. That they could be totally weird. But a 13-year-old being cute.
That's something what the word cute means.
Like, when we see a 13-year-old, we're like, oh, that's cute. They got their super weird looking fingernails and stuff like that. And they're all dressing up to be cutesy. That's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, cute is a non-sexual word except to the groomers.
Yes, which tells you something about these people. And and he's like, Ciri is 21 years old in the last one. You would love to play an ugly character, not me. And they're going, he's like, am I the one that is crying? Ciri isn't pretty. She looks awesome like Geralt's daughter and like a real Witcher. Just stop and go get help. Which just tells me that they don't understand the lore, because lore based, for one, Yennefer and Geralt would never risk Ciri in the Trial of Grasses because they don't want her to die.
I don't think the game CD Projekt, I don't think they care. I think they're like, okay,
whether they don't care or not, they're going to get the plot back because of this.
They're like, okay, we want to make a Witcher 4, we want to make money. You 10 teams out there pitch us an idea. Oh, this idea sounds the best. Go with that one. They're like, not the people. Or the money people aren't.
These are funny ones.
Aren't concerned with, how to put it, with the game being like compliant with the previous games and lore or whatever. They just want to make money on it, you know.
But so some commenters were like, no, she looks like Ron Perlman. And so it's like, Ciri looks like, I'm assuming, Marilla Radowicz. Look at those pictures. That's a Ciri right there. Or if you have this one. I don't care, guys.
Yeah, Ron Perlman's not a...
Whatever.
He's an okay looking dude. Like he just gets shit because he's a moron.
Well, yeah. I mean, it makes sense to some extent because, I mean, he's a halfway decent actor, but he's kind of an idiot. But like, Ciri looks like a normal woman, and then they make other Ciri who looks less like normal woman. But no, like, if you're going to, like, because I've heard two sides of this, right? And we hear this all the time in gaming, where the woman looks atrocious and like, well, we can't get their physical attributes figured out correctly because the technology doesn't allow it. But then they look at men, and men are done perfectly. And then now we're being told, oh, this is the identical person to the motion cap, and the facial features and everything match perfectly. And it's like, If that's the case, then somebody's lying, and I'm betting it's most of them. Because if it could work, and it can work, we've seen it multiple times because they have the same actors doing the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But then we can see things like this. Games before feminists hijacked the game industry, games after feminists. Now, the one on the right is the one from the Naughty Dog that I was talking about.
That face
Like,
looks familiar.
it
I may have seen
probably
like a
does,
meme or something with the face.
possibly. But I'm assuming she's just a standard Japanese origin. Wow. Everything's really going off today.
No, I got. He just moved, so I'm gonna buy him a bunch of dinners for as a housewarming gift. Just
Gotcha.
texting about it.
But like how women looked before, they still looked feminine. They looked like women. Some people think that like there's Dread Pirate Roberts and Melanie Mack both had their little, I want to say, meltdowns almost about women becoming too over sexualized. And it's like, how does making a woman attractive make her naturally sexualized? They're not
I
doing any
guess that was
sexual
Dread
acts.
Pirate Robert saying that.
Huh?
I'm presuming that Dread Pirate Roberts is the one saying
Dread Pirate Roberts and Melanie Mack both had that take.
that they're over sexualized.
Well, that everything now is coming out as over sexualized. I mean, China's China. China's going to do China stuff. So, I mean, you can't really control China. Anyway.
I'm surprised Melanie Mack has that take because she's been advocating for a more sexually attractive
Lara Croft.
Lara Croft for years. So
that was my like thing with it.
But then again, I can't stand her anymore. And this has to do with politics. Like when she's a devout Christian, nothing fine with that. Okay, but
nothing fine with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Like everything's fine. But during when the MAGA movement was coming together, there were non-Christians in the movement, you know, and there's a segment of Christians who were like, "No, we shouldn't." They were calling them all demons and stuff. I'm like, we got to win.
They're called fundamentalists, and fundamentalists are a poor representation.
Well,
of
even fundamentalists were like, we got to win. These are worse. These are like the Christian jihadists almost, you know. Like when the woman, for those who don't know, the woman who gave that, she's a Sikh. She I can't remember her name right now. She gave a speech at the Republican National Convention, and she has done like she's a Republican.
Your voice just kicked out. Yeah, I know, right? It's been happening. Video Ninja is a mess, and I can't figure out what we're gonna have to change that soon. But again, that'll have to be probably New Year. All right, I can hear you now.
Anyway, so this woman, I can't remember her name of her right now, but she since the year 2000, she was one of the lawyers who sued President Bush's app against Gore. She's been suing for decades in fighting for the Republican and right wing side of stuff, and so she gave a Sikh prayer at the convention. I'm like, okay, doesn't mean anything to me, but like whatever. She did. We're a coalition. We got to win. You know, you can't do anything.
The thing is, if somebody's allowed to do a Christian prayer, somebody's allowed to do a Sikh prayer, somebody's allowed to do whatever, blah 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 blah, you don't have to take it personally, and still be of each of those faiths. Like every time there's a Christian prayer, it's not like every Sikh goes, they just be like, okay, cool, whatever, and then they just move on, and it's just like, okay, whether you like it or dislike it, it's politics. You're gonna get into that type of stuff, which I don't particularly care about in that regard.
The point is, we're forming a coalition of people who agree on a bunch of stuff, and you're gonna have disagreements over some stuff. Don't ruin your coalition, you know, because you want your religious view. I mean, whatever. The point. That's why I stopped following Melanie Mack, because I found her very hypocritical.
She is very tactless, I want to say, which is disappointing because I mean, I like her as a person. Like I think she could be fun and whatever. I don't mind her Bible study posts. I don't mind all that stuff. But when she starts like going off on something, maybe I don't know. It's the tone of her voice never changes. She'll go off on whatever it might be, and sometimes her arguments seem to be a little weird in how they came to be that thing.
Yeah.
But ironically, we do have something that will be comparative that from a Melanie Mack perspective. Melanie Mack says, the problem is the visual weight is too heavy on the lower face now. Anime and cartoonists typically give female characters bigger foreheads and shorter lower faces to emphasize a feminine aesthetic. What they've done here is shorten, flattened the forehead, plus the crown of the skull, and lengthen the lower face. The proportions are less artistically appealing when illustrating a female face. That's a good take. It's an astute take. It's one that you pay attention to the actual
That's
facial
true,
features.
but I would say the one on the right, her face looks swollen.
The one on the right?
The older Ciri.
That's the new one, yeah.
But the character's obviously older. I think it was young Ciri and old Ciri. Anyway.
But it's also, there's a lighting issue. There's also, she's not coming straight at you. When you see her at a straight, her chin is like this. Where Ciri's a little bit more filled out, as you can tell from the left. Yeah. But the one on the left is perfectly fine, and she's not going to age that much unless she would gain, unless she gained a lot of weight and just was doing a lot of unhealthy Western practices. Then she would. But she trains
that much. She would have to suffer some sort of bone disease over.
Yeah, she'd have to get like giantism or something that injected into her. But like it should not be literally possible to do this much. Yeah. But it's not nearly as bad as like April O'Neil's in the Ninja Turtles, where she goes from going from a petite reddish haired April O'Neil to a race swapped dreads wearing fat chubby April O'Neil, as we call her. And it's just like, that's completely different characters.
Yeah.
And you'd say the same thing about this when you actually get to like bone density. The cheek structure is different. The nose is different. The eyebrows are different. Mm-hmm. I mean, the hair's kind of similar, but I mean, she would have had to grow her hair out really long to get to that level of a braid. But maybe she does. I don't know. It's been a hot minute, but there's nothing like crazy sexual about Ciri from Witcher 3. She just has a more or less appealing face.
Yeah.
And that's literally it.
She's an attractive character who is not like in a lot of sexual photo like drawings or whatever.
Yeah, you'll see more about Triss and Yennefer, and no one's arguing in favor or against that. They're just saying, "Oh well, you're just wanting to splooge all day because getting your hanky donkey off," and it's just like, but what? No, I just don't think that you need to be hideous to be a good character. Like,
no,
that's the way it's been for the last 5-10 years now. And it's getting old, really old, 10 years old, and we're tired of it. We would rather have a character that makes more sense in the actual setting, because nothing about Ciri has ever been told to be she was ugly.
The thing is, the money is showing that we're tired of it, and in some cases they're moving on.
And in some, yes, others they're moving on because their studios got closed down.
The Japanese pushback is big, so.
But yeah, to wrap this up, I got one more for everybody. That's just more of a humorous thing. So we get the Western, which are all very highly unattractive women. You get the Japanese, where you have an attractive woman plus an attractive woman in a suit, and then you have two Gundams or bots or whatever, armored core. And then in the bottom left, you have the Koreans, where they have like the cute, I think it's is it Blue Archive or whatever? I think that's the anime. I don't know what any of those other characters are from, except the bottom left is Eve from Stellar Blade. And she's the only one out of the three of those that would even be remotely referred to as sexualized.
Yeah.
The other two would look like normal women. The elven years, obviously. Maybe it's from like Arc Age or something of that. But it's like they look like normal, appropriately dressed women. Like the one with the purplish blue hair looks like she would be in a Pride and Prejudice rendition.
Yeah.
Like she looks just base level attractive. And that's that. It's about as plain as you can get in the attractive department. But plain then is different. And then obviously everyone's favorite, the Slavic on the bottom right. And all you're hearing is like music playing in the background.
Well, I'd also point out the one on the bottom left from what was the game again?
The bottom left, Stellar Blade.
Stellar Blade. I was thinking Solar Blade. She's actually based on a real woman.
Yeah, they did emphasize her butt and her or like her legs and butt, and I think her chest a little bit more than the
Yeah.
actual. But that was literally it. Everything else, like the facial features and all that
Yeah.
stuff, the rest of it was based off of the
Yeah.
actual Korean actress that did the motion cap and everything.
Hmm.
Like, and everyone kept saying, "What you think Asian people have the face of a child?" Well, in a lot of situations, yes, they do, but that's a different story. But in this particular instance, they're like, "No woman looks like that," and then like, "But here's a woman that looks like that," and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh." Well, then they came up with some other argument because they obviously failed that argument entirely to the very core. So I do find it a little bit funny that it's just this entire thing is literally Western versus everybody else. Because everybody else in the world that does not agree, especially the Slavics, with this this rendition. And it's I don't know why it's such a big deal to have attractive people when you say that ugly people are attractive, because by their own definition those people are too attractive and need to be uglier, and then the uglier people become too attractive and need to become even uglier to the point
Well,
where you're going
that's
to go back to the amoeba to be even basic attractive, and that's going to be too attractive, and it's going to go
we
backwards in
talked about why.
evolution.
Because the West is under heavy assault from communism, because they know that they can't take over here, right? Basically, the communists have China, right, and going to other countries. They
Yeah,
know, however, that they don't take over the West, China's eventually going to collapse under its own weight. That's the end. That's the end of communism. So
we can
they're trying
hope.
to get, huh?
We can hope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if people still try to do communism when China implodes over the next 30 years, with due to their
The faster it
population.
implodes, the faster the world stabilizes.
Well, no, it has to do with the size of their population and the age and how
Yeah, but the
undeveloped most
CCP would have
areas.
no problems with murdering half of their population if it helped keep
No, but
communism
there would
going.
be an uprising. They wouldn't
We
be able
can't
to take
uprise when half of them are dead.
it.
There's not enough there to uprise with.
They don't have enough gun to kill a billion people. You know, that's why they were doing that one child policy and all.
That's
They
why
were
there's
trying to
bombs.
cut down the amount of people who live outside of cities.
Well, the thing is, they canceled the whole one child per family policy.
Yeah, because
So,
they realized they were sterilizing themselves, so people weren't having boys. You know,
well, that's
and
because it was frowned upon to have a girl because a boy was the family. Like this is like an ancient culture thing that goes back literally to the
well, not
beginning of
just frowned
humanity.
upon, but and see, you need to remember most of China's population still lives in agrarian societies, right? And you need a son to take care of you when you get old.
Yeah. Like daughters can to some extent, but they can't do all the stuff that a son would be able to do. But
Yeah,
even
so
then, a son is the continuation of your family lineage. The daughter
I'm
isn't.
talking to the economic drive behind it, right?
Well, I know, but I'm saying that there's multiple things that a son can do, like
Yeah.
continue the lineage, because to a lot of families in these originally ancient cultures, lineage means a whole lot. Because back in the olden days, if your lineage did not continue because you didn't have a son, it felt like all was lost. Because you'll just be
Mhm.
forgotten in the randoms of history and whatever,
Well,
and
that's
people are just gonna.
true, but that evolved on top of the need to the son to take
Well,
care of
yes,
you.
yes, yes. When it happened, but then back then they didn't have the one child policy, so it didn't make sense. It was more like we can't have kids. Oh, we popped out a kid. Oh man, it's a girl. And it's not that they necessarily didn't like their daughter. It was that it was still seen as a defeat of their lineage because their
Well,
lineage will still
but again,
disappear.
that's true to the extent, but that is just a behavior that evolved on top of the
Because there is
biological
no
need.
matriarchal society in the world that is a well-known, powerful
Again,
society.
I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying
No, no,
is,
no. I'm just pointing that out as an additional information. I'm not saying
when
you're
when
arguing.
when a biological behavior is productive, it reinforces itself over time. Like for example, um, your lips get pleasurable from kissing people, like your wife or whatever, and from eating food. One of them came first, and the other one latched onto that. You know what I mean?
Latched.
Like evolution wise, like maybe probably the food tasted good if it was good for you, right? And then maybe they noticed, well, this woman's lips taste good, and that also latched onto it, like biologically, same thing. So the behavior of the culture latched onto the biological need of the older son to take care of them. And China would, you know,
China.
the China,
China.
any left wing economic system, in order for it to work, requires, as I said before, like that poor people and middle class people have much lower controlled. Basically, your peons, you can't have too many peons because you don't generate enough resources in socialism or communism to take account large populations. You know,
Well, there's a whole bunch of things, but
yeah.
ultimately, and to wrap things up, you're
We're
not a
wrapping it
gooner.
up, guys. We're wrapping it up.
Wrap it, boys. Protection counts. Actually, don't. It's not. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. I've got 2 kids. That's all I'm gonna say.
Since we're wrapping up, we're rappers now.
I don't have the brain power to try to rap something right now. Sorry. A rap is not something I listen to normally.
We're rapping the show up, so that makes us rappers.
Candy rappers, though.
I'm
But no, like
I'm Grandmaster Matt.
oh boy, yeah. But yeah, to wrap things up, just because you like attractive individuals or characters in a video game or a book or a movie does not make you a gooner. I don't know why they think that's going to be something that sticks, because everyone in the normie society is using the term gooner left and right, much like the Yahtzees and other isms and phobists, and they're all kind of dying out because, ultimately speaking, they're misusing them, the words and their definitional forms, as well as completely just going sideways away from what they actually are understood as by the population. So it's like a miscommunication error is applying everywhere, and somebody's like, "You're a Yahtzee." I'm like, "I'm literally not by definition." They're like, "No, you are, because I think you are." Because of the population who says, "Well, if you feel like somebody of an opposite sex, you must be that person of the opposite sex." And it's just none of it makes sense, because they don't make sense. They make arguments, and they're poor arguments. So you're not a gooner for liking attractive people, and you're not a gooner because you want them to be in your games that you're going to be spending potentially countless hours in, because sometimes the game's only like 3-4 hours long, sometimes the game's 160 hours long, and you'd rather look at something that's appealing than something that's unappealing. That's the overall gist of it, and they don't understand that, so they're going to attack you for a plethora of reasons. So don't let it get to you. It's not that big of a deal. But I do want to point out the hypocrisy on things. And Crimson Law has a video on the art things going on in anime right now, where there's like a blackwashing of certain art, and then somebody whitewashes some art, and then they all get up in arms. They'll defend the blackwashing, but they'll go up in arms against the whitewashing because it's not stunning and brave when you make a character white, even though it's a Japanese artist doing it. But it's a two-headed dragon that's just, it's dumb the entire way. So, do you have anything last words, Matt?
I would say no one's a gooner, because it's a term that the left is trying to make up to make people to define something that's normal as bad. And also, we learned this lesson with the Yahtzeeism and all that. There was a story of Peter and the Wolf. About Peter kept saying, "There's a wolf, there's a wolf, there's a wolf," and there wasn't a wolf. Well,
You mean
he
the boy
keeps
who cried
crying.
wolf?
Huh?
The boy who cried wolf?
Isn't that Peter and the Wolf? The boy cried wolf.
It's just always been the boy who cried wolf. I've never known he had a name.
I thought the folk tale was Peter and the Wolf, and he kept crying wolf. So
Maybe, but I know it's the boy who cried wolf is the term that's universally known.
Yeah. Anyway, so in Peter and the Wolf, he kept crying wolf, and there was no wolves for the first couple times. So like they're crying Yahtzee, 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 and they're like, wait, there's no Yahtzees over there. They're like regular people, and so that's causing walk away campaign and all the conversions and whatever. And when the actual Yahtzees show up, like I don't know, in Ukraine, the Zavav battalion or whatever, Azagov battalion, whatever. It's 4 letters. It's a gov.
I've not been paying attention.
Yeah. Well, point is, our so-called allies in Ukraine are actual Yahtzees, and they've been crying so long they can't recognize when they're actually there.
Yeah. All right. So
but we're winning. Important. We got to keep winning, keep fighting, keep on. Keep on keeping on. Don't let the wokesters win. Reject their crap, and we'll keep winning.
Whoever gives up first will be the losers. And that's kind of the thing. Like the gatekeeping has to continue until the normies improve. Is this going to be the term I'm going to
Yeah.
use? The gatekeeping shall continue until the normies improve. Because it's ultimately comes down to the normies. The normies are affected by culture so much that society will go whichever direction the normies go.
Well,
So if we keep pointing out the poor argumentation, if we keep pointing out that people are doing incorrect, definitionally speaking, incorrect labeling of things, and keep saying this is incorrect factually, this is incorrect factually, and keep going on and on and on, well, you can have a success in your campaign against all the nonsense because we just want a normal, real world
yeah.
where video games are escapism
Mhm.
from the real world. If we wanted the real world, we would just go outside. So ultimately, if we're here and we're just enjoying a fun game, we don't need to have any ideologies, regardless if it's left or right, pushed into it. But normal biological mechanisms is not a left or right mechanism, it's
Mhm.
a natural mechanism. So as long as natural mechanisms make sense in a world building sense, because I'm getting really sick and tired of this. Well, you can do whatever you want because it's fantasy. Is like, yes, if you're world building it, but you still have to do good world building. You can't just vomit over somebody else's stuff and then call it good. And I had an argument with somebody today. I've been having an argument for a couple days about vandalizing. You can vandalize an IP or something that you've licensed or bought the rights to. You could absolutely vandalize it. And you do that by changing the entire story. So if a story is written and all the characters are this way, but then you change all of them, so the good guys are the bad guys, and the bad guys are the good guys, and they're all doing the incorrect things. Yes, that's
Yeah.
vandalism. That it is. Just because you own the IP or own the license now does not mean you did not vandalize the beloved series. So keep that in mind. And thanks for hanging out with us, guys. I know the holidays are coming up, so hopefully we'll get something out for after Christmas / I guess New Year's or whatever, and just keep on checking out what we got, and maybe we'll have some stuff. I'm hoping to have a normal schedule, but Christmas is going to throw a loop into it. But yeah, we'd love to have you guys back around. So I guess just we'll see you on the next one. So thanks everybody, and remember, my friends, walk in the light.